Well, greetings everyone and welcome to Movie Goodness, a show that examines life through cinema. All presented to you by the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed. And how are you doing in podcast listening land? I hope everybody is doing well. This show today is dedicated to one of my favorite actors in my little time here on this earth. This was an actor who I can honestly say was there from the moment I was getting into television and movies and all this good stuff, even till now. You know, he's been in the zeitgeist my entire life. And this show is dedicated to him because he decided he's retiring. Well, he didn't really decide. Fate kind of decided. Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis. If you're into the news and entertainment news and you know what's going on, and or in case you don't know what's going on, Bruce Willis has retired from acting due to a medical condition, and that medical condition is aphasia, aphasia. I believe I'm saying it right. APHASIS. I think that's it. I don't know, but I'll give you the definition of it later. But yes, the definition basically is it affects your ability to communicate. And let me get into it. Let me give you this definition. I did a little research to find out exactly what it is, because I heard different interpretations of it. But it affects it does affect your brain. Aphasia is the inability to comprehend or formulate language because of damage to a specific brain region. The major causes are strokes and head trauma. It also can be results of brain tumors or brain infections. Basically, it breaks down your speech. It breaks down your comprehension. It's like a form of dementia. You lose the ability to speak, to read, to write. It's like, I don't know. It just breaks you down. It really breaks you down mentally, literally. Terrible thing. I know a little bit about dementia and Parkinson's and, things of that nature, but I've never heard of this. And I didn't know this was a thing. I didn't know you can't comprehend or speak. It affects your verbal expressions, just formulating communication. It just breaks you down, man. And when you think back, like to his last few films, you kind of see why. You kind of get it now, and it's sad. It's sad. People talked about this man like a dog, because he didn't give any effort in films. It's like he wasn't acting. He was just reciting lines or whatever. But now you kind of get why. And it's so sad. And I hate that this is happening to him. If there's a way to recover, a way to bounce back from it, I pray that he does, But, all indications from what I did in my research is that it's not good. It's in the same camp as Parkinson's and dementia. There's nothing really you can do. And so, it's so sad that he has to end it like that, his career. But like I said, this is a celebration of a career episode. This isn't a celebration of life, because the man's still alive. He's still alive and well, and hopefully he'll live a million more years. But, right now, as far as his film career, it is over. So we want to take this episode and celebrate that career because it was an amazing career. I mean, amazing when you sit back and think about it. I mean, if you go back, like with me, my first introduction to Bruce Willis was Moonlighting, the television show with him and Sybil Shepherd. I loved that show. I loved Moonlighting. And to this day, I don't even know why, but I just loved Moonlighting. And from there, after Moonlighting, he just exploded onto the big screen. He turned into this action star when he wasn't supposed to be. Because, in the late 80s, in the 80s in general, going into the 90s, action heroes were these big, muscular, larger-than-life figures. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, these just muscles on top of muscles fellas. And Bruce Willis was just a guy. He didn't have a muscular physique. He wasn't specially skilled with martial arts. He was just a guy. And it was no reason why he should have been an action star. But he was. And he was one of the best, if not the best. If you want to line him up and compare all of the so-called cast of the Expendables and line them up and compare careers, you might have an argument Bruce Willis had the biggest or the most successful or however. In my eyes, he kind of does. As far as versatility. Sylvester Stallone, action. That's it. This is action. He's done some dramas, and he did a good drama. Copland was good. Copland was a great film, and he had a great performance in it. You could argue Creed and all that. He had some great performances. I'm not saying he can't act, but it's few and far between. Between the Rambos and the Rockies and the Expendables and so on and so Cobras, all those films. Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's action. He's known for action. Terminators, Commandos. All those films, Predators. All those. Now he was kind of versatile. With the comedies. With Junior and Twins and Kindergarten Cop and stuff like that. But for the most part, he's just known for action. Now, Bruce Willis is known for action, but he's also known for other roles. He has so many different roles. Comedy, drama, the dude is versatile. He's been in thrillers, erotic thrillers. I'll be all type of movies. So he's very versatile. And that's why I would argue he had probably the most productive career. Not to mention, Bruce Willis has appeared in 117 films. Let me repeat that in case you didn't hear it. 117 films. The man was a working machine. Mind you, 8 of those 117 has yet to be released. And so he still has 8 more films to be released after his retirement. That's crazy to me. Now, granted, they all go on direct to video or direct to whatever streaming service or whatever. I don't know. But, yeah, they coming out. He got paid for them. The man made some movies. He made some movies. Some good, some great, some bad. And we're going to go over a few of them. We're not going to go over the whole 117 film catalog because I do want to get some sleep. But we're going to go over a few. And we're going to be objective here. We're going to go through some of the bads, but we're definitely going to go through the good. And I'm going to review one of his greats at the end of it all. And I had a a initially I had a pick for one, but I will save that for another show because I already had a planned episode for that particular movie, and I didn't want to break that plan. And so I'm going to keep that film for another episode. So it's all good because this is a great movie as well, and I don't think I'll have any other opportunity in the foreseeable future to review it. So it kind of works out perfectly. But let's go over a few of the bads. A few that I sit back and I'm like, what were you thinking, Bruce? why did you? I guess for the money, because I don't know what you was thinking, dude. I really don't know what you was thinking with this movie. First and foremost, this one really hurt me to my core. When I think back, because this was 1991, and this was the summer of 1991, and I remember Bruce Willis going on the Arsenio Hall show. Yeah, I'm dating myself now. He was on the Arsenio Hall show promoting this film, and he was talking this film up like it was the next Die Hard series. You know, at this point in 1991, we've already received 2 Die Hard movies. We got Die Hard in 1988, then we had Die Hard 2 in 1990. So the following year, we get Hudson Hawk. Man, I hated that movie. I still hate that movie. I cannot stand that movie. I don't know what he was thinking. And it checks every box that Kevin Reed wanted as a 12, 13-year-old. However old I was I was 12 in 1991. It checked every box that I wanted. It had action. It had comedy. You know, it was great. Didn't work. It did not work. It was so poorly executed. That movie, it was just silly for being silly. You know, the plot was dumb. I'm not gonna review it. I'm not, because I'll be here all day trying to review. I'm not gonna review all these. I did not like Hudson Hawk. Just know that. And that was one that really it almost got me to the point. Bruce Willis is dead to me. I felt like, man, I'm not even watching this. But later on that year, actually it was the same summer, I believe. It was like a couple of months later, he came out with The Last Boy Scout, which shot me back up to Bruce Willis. I was like, okay, we're back, Bruce. We're back. Man, The Last Boy Scout was amazing. It was amazing. But I'm sticking with the bad. Okay, well, another bad. I honestly got to say, I was almost fighting mad here because I thought that Bruce Willis could do no wrong, even though this is after Hudson Hawk and a couple of other films that I was like, but I felt like Bruce Willis was all right. You know, it wasn't Bruce Willis' fault. It was just a bad movie. This one here, I honestly can say it was Bruce Willis' fault. He was bad. The movie was bad. Everything about this movie made me want to fight. And it just well, let me just Cop Out. The film Cop Out, which came out in 2010. It's just I can't even explain. Words can't formulate into my mind to how I feel about that movie. You know, like I said, if you into the know and you heard the stories of him and Kevin Smith, the director, how they got into it on set, they didn't get along, blase, blah, blah, blah. I mean, and it translated. It translated. Bruce Willis was just there. He literally was just, standing there the whole movie. I mean, it was no emotion, no nothing. And it was horrible. It was horrible. But, you know, as bad as that movie was, as unwatchable as that movie is, picture there's something worse. Picture there's something that's so offensive to anybody who grew up around the time I grew up. Anybody who was a fan of the Die Hard franchise. There was something more blasphemous than that. And that was A Good Day to Die Hard, which came out in 2013. That was it for me. I was out. I was done. You know, I was so mad at Bruce Willis and everybody else associated with that movie. Not so much that Bruce Willis was just horrible in the movie, or that the direction was bad, which it was. The story was bad, which it was. I was mad because I called in sick at work. It's what year I said that was? That was 2013. Statute of limitations. I think I'm good. It was so bad that I'm like, man, I could have just went to work. I mean, I called in to go see this early. I wanted to be the first to watch Die. I love Die Hard. Die Hard is the franchise as a whole. I love every single one. And then this came out. I'm like, man, what is this? Who are you talking mad? I can't bring myself to watch it no more. I've seen bits and pieces of it since I've seen it in the theater, but never just sat down beginning to end. I can't do it. It's like, it's literally painful to watch that movie. It was horrible. It was horrible. And I'm embarrassed to say I saw it. I'm really in shame right now, P. I'm sitting here. I'm ashamed that I watched that movie. That's how bad that movie was. I just could not believe that he made that movie. I was hurt. I was hurt. If you can't tell. But let's get past that. I don't want to talk about the bad Bruce Willis movies no more. Let's talk about the good. And we have a lot to go through with the good. Like I said, man made 117 movies. Law of averages state that some of them were going to be bad. We know that. A good majority of them. But shockingly, not as many as you think. I would say 100. No, it's too far. I would say 80 of them were good movies. Yeah, but that's without me sitting here and actually counting each and every one of them. But I'm confident in saying that a vast majority of them were good. Starting all the way back to 1987. 1987, I watched this movie, and to this day, I still crack up laughing on. And that is Blind Date. Blind Date with him and Kim Basinger. It is hilarious. That movie was hilarious. I think Blake Edwards directed that, if I'm not mistaken. It was just one of them sneaky funny movies. And I know it was critically panned back then, but if you watch it now, it's hilarious. The movie is hilarious. I think it was ahead of his time, to be honest with you. The following year, that's when he really blew up. And need I say more, in 1988, he leaped into our hearts when he leaped off the Nakatomi building in Die Hard, where he played John McCain. To say that, and this is me and my dad's favorite action movie. He talked about Die Hard glowingly forever. He just loved Die Hard, and it's for the same reasons I love it. If he the way he explained it, because he's like, man, John McClane is McClane, not McCain. McClane is a everyman. He's just an ordinary, average guy, and he's stuck in an extraordinary circumstance. And from the impact of that film affected action movies forever, because everything had to be Die Hard. Everything after this, you had, with the exception of all the extra Die Hard movies you actually had the if you take action movies from the 90s, you can sum it up in the subplot. This is basically it. If I say Die Hard on a submarine, the first movie come to your mind, Under Siege. If I say Die Hard on a mountain, you're going to say Cliffhanger. If I say Die Hard on a bus, you're going to say Speed. Die Hard on a plane, you're going to say Executive Decision. You get the point I'm trying to make. Everything copied Die Hard. And it wouldn't have worked without Bruce Willis. Yeah, you could have easily put Sylvester Stallone in that movie, and it would have been successful. You could have put Arnold Schwarzenegger in that movie. It probably would have been successful, but you wouldn't have had that same impact, because when you watch Sylvester Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger in those roles, in your mind, they're going to get out of the situation. In the end, they're going to triumph. Even though when you watch a film, the hero's going to win. Occasionally, as of now, you really don't know. Movies that come out now, you really are skeptical, because some movies now the trope is the hero does it. But back then, you knew the hero was going to win. But you was constantly wondering, how is John McClane going to get out of this situation? And it wouldn't have worked without the prowess of Bruce Willis, to bring his charm, his wit, his charisma, because he lacked in muscle, but he was charming and witty, and that was the joy of his character there. And he brought it into his other roles as well, but especially in Die Hard, which what made him a megastar. Of course, there's Die Hard 2. There's Look Who's Talking, where he was just the voice of the baby, Mikey, which I loved. That was a cute movie. They made a sequel to that. Actually, they made a couple of sequels, if I'm not mistaken. I think I mentioned The Last Boy Scout, which was also another sneaky good film. One of the films, which I strongly considered reviewing today, but the other film overruled it. But one of the sneakiest, best Bruce Willis performances came in 1992. And no, it wasn't Loaded Weapon 1. It was actually Death Becomes Her. Death Becomes Her is one of my favorite films. Top 20, I'll say. Bruce Willis is so hilarious in this movie. He is so good as this bumbling doctor who's married to one woman and in love with the other woman, and the other woman steals her and whatever, steals him rather. And that's a completely different movie. And you have this potion with the Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn have taken, and they're basically immortal now. And he's caught in the middle of this love triangle, and I just love it. I love it. I can't go into it too much, but I love it. A couple of years later, he made another turn in a more serious film Now he was in serious films prior to this, but this one was kind of out of left field. This was when he teamed up with Quentin Tarantino in Pulp Fiction, and his role as Butch, the boxer in this film, which was a small role. He wasn't the star of the film, but the little section of the film where he was the focal point was probably one of the most interesting of that movie. Even though the whole movie as a whole is great, but his story was so interesting, and how it ends up, how him and Vin Rames end up towards the end of it, was like, wow. We're going there, I see. But it was an amazing performance. You have Die Hard with a Vengeance. Once again, awesome film. You also 12 Monkeys, awesome film. I appreciate it now. I didn't appreciate it in 1995, but I appreciate it now. When I watched it again and I saw it with different eyes, and I was like, man, this is a deep movie. Because back when it came out, I'm used to the stereotype. Bruce Willis is an action movie, and it wasn't, and it was not. I'm thinking it's a sci-fi movie, which it is, but it's not. And it's just a real good movie. And I think he was robbed of an Academy Award nomination for that movie. Amazing performance by Bruce Willis. Probably his best performance he ever did, to be completely fair and objective. This was an amazing performance. 12 Monkeys. If you haven't seen it, please check it out. It is awesome. I'll do a show on that too down the line. It is amazing. Went on, I think the following year, or maybe 2 years later, he did The Fifth Element, which was great. The Jackal, which he was the villain. And I think this was the first time he played the villain. I could be wrong, but I know for certain he was the villain here, boy. I mean, he was brutal in here, and he was actually pretty scary as the Jackal. It was now the movie isn't 100% there, but his role was he was menacing. He was very menacing. The following year made me cry in the theater. He literally had me crying in the theater in an action movie with Armageddon. I know I can hear the laughter now. Yes, I cried at the end of Armageddon because of Bruce Willis. What happened at the end of Armageddon was soul crushing, man. it hit me. Now I know it probably a stupid little whatever to anybody else, like, oh, this is a cheesy action dumb movie from Michael Bay, but which you're probably right, but it was just that ending, man. His sacrifice at the end, spoilers, whatever. It was 1998. If you hadn't seen it by now, too bad. But it was just so gut wrenching to me. I don't know why. Even to this day, every time I watch it, people. Yeah, I'm speaking free and clear. I hold nothing back. I'm honest with y'all. Even right now, if you pop in Armageddon and it gets to the end of that movie, or you could just fast forward to the end and just play that scene, I'm gonna cry. I don't know what it is. It gets me every time, and I've seen Armageddon at least 100 times. it gets me every time. Other great films. The film. Oh my goodness. The Whole Nine Yards. That's another film that I watched over and over again. funny. It is It is a real funny film. Him and Matthew Perry and Amanda P. The late great Michael Clark Duncan, Kevin Pollak. It was funny. It was funny. He played a hitman who moved in next door to a dentist, and his wife, the dentist's wife. The dentist is played by Matthew Perry. Matthew Perry's wife is trying to hire Bruce Willis to kill Matthew Perry. She tries to get buku people to kill him, but everybody who she hires to kill him likes Matthew Perry. When they go to kill, they start to like him, and they can't bring themselves to kill him, and that's the whole purpose. And Bruce Willis was the same way; he just couldn't bring himself to kill him. And the movie was well done. It even spawned a sequel, which wasn't that good. At least it wasn't as good as the first one. The first one was just they knocked it out the park. But that leads us to Unbreakable, which came out in the same year. Unbreakable. Oh, Unbreakable. This was another film. I had to wait a couple of days, let my initial reaction settle, and see what creeped up to the top. And when you think back at Unbreakable, at least me, at first time I watched it, I thought it was kind of it's slow. It's not. I don't. Then the end kind of just went the end. It just ended, and I'm like, man, this is not. It's not all that. I don't know. This ain't really all that good to me. I mean, it was all right. Now you got to keep in mind, this is the year 2000. This is before the comic book movie boom took place. I think that same year, X-Men, the first X-Men came out. Spider-Man didn't come out till like another year or two after this. So then the MCU was nowhere to be found. I think the MCU didn't start till, what was it, 2008, I think, with Iron Man. So we didn't have these comic book superhero movies, Yeah, you had Batman and Robin, I think was the last comic book movie. No. Blade. You had Blade around that time, but that was Blade, and not too many people really recognized it as a comic book movie, which it was, as a comic book character. But this movie, Unbreakable, was essentially a comic book movie, and had I known that going in, I probably would have appreciated it more when I saw it the first time. But I didn't know that. I didn't know that's what I was getting. So now, later on, when you look at it with fresh eyes and have that kind of comic book movie view of it, you're like, oh my goodness, this is a masterpiece. Unbreakable was pitch perfect. Really. And Bruce Willis was amazing in there. Tears of the Sun. Love that movie. Little underrated gem. I love that movie. And so on and so forth. But if you notice, I skipped one. Yes, I did skip a movie. And the reason I skipped it, because that's our review for today. That's the creme de la creme of the day. And the movie that we're choosing to review in honor of Bruce Willis' stellar career, one of his best performances, one of the best movies he's ever been a part of, a movie that still to this day, after 23 years, is still considered one of the best movie twist in film history. And this film is The Sixth Sense. Yes, we're reviewing The Sixth Sense today, people. Written and directed by M. Night Shyamalan. And this movie, I remember in 1999 when it came out, I remember going to see it. And once again, I'm a Bruce Willis guy. So I didn't know what I was I didn't know what I was going to see. I just knew Bruce Willis was in it. It's probably going to be an action movie. Sixth Sense sound kind of actiony. I'm gonna go see. Maybe it's some type of telepathic thing or something. You know, that's what I didn't know. You know, we didn't have YouTube back then, so it weren't like I can pull up the trailer and watch the trailer and see what this is all about. I think I only seen like one trailer, and that was it. You know, but I went to go see this movie, and this was the first time I sat in the theater, and it was a collective jaw drop at the end of the movie. A gasp. I heard a loud audience reaction. See, we hear that now. We get that now. You know, if you go on YouTube now and you look at audience reactions from like Endgame or Spider-Man No Way Home, just look those up and you see those audience reactions. It's amazing. You know, it gives you chills when you hear it. And I remember being in the theater for Endgame and, you know, when everybody came back through the portals and stuff. It was one of the most epic moments I had sitting in the theater. Also with Spider-Man No Way Home. It was also another epic moment. But my first time sitting in the theater and there was an actual reaction from the audience collectively was at this, The Sixth Sense. At the end of it, everybody just went. It was like we was all in unison. It was like, that was the what? Everybody, that was the reaction at the end of this movie, and it was so well done. If you go back and watch it, if you watch The Sixth Sense multiple times and try to catch it, you know, catch the clues to the reveal. And I'm not trying. I'm gonna try to do this without spoiling it. Well, check that. There's no way to talk about this movie without spoil. It's no way. It's no way. So if you haven't seen The Sixth Sense, out of the trillion of people who've seen it by now, I'm assuming one or two of you have not. This is your spoiler warning. I know the movie is 150 years old, but there might be a chance somebody haven't seen it. But if you hear you haven't seen it, I'm spoiling this movie. I'm spoiling the surprise end of this movie. I mean, it's been talked about. It's been discussed. It's been imitated, but you know, it has. I don't know what to tell you. So I'm just saying that I don't want you mad at me. I'm sorry, but I'm spoiling it. But the way now you go back and watch this movie, and you still can't find the clues that led up to the reveal that Bruce Willis was dead the whole time. It's amazing. And this is why people get mad at M. Night Shyamalan. People get mad at this man for the trash he puts out after this movie. Well, after Signs. M. Night Shyamalan, see, he unfortunately for this young man, this was his first film, and he knocked it out the park. So from this point on, it was here or better, and this was a masterpiece. So he had to live up to this expectation now. So he couldn't fail. You know, he could not be, you know, he could not fail. I know a lot of people say, oh, after Sixth Sense, everything, all his movies went down. Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to get up to this level. I mean, Unbreakable was awesome. Yeah, it wasn't as good as The Sixth Sense, but it was good. Signs was good. It didn't live up to The Sixth Sense, but it was good. You know, then you get into The Village, then you get into The Happening and Lady in the Water, and Avatar or The Last Airbender and After Earth and all these other stupid movies, Glass and all that there. But but I liked Old, which came out last year from him. I liked that movie. It wasn't the greatest thing, but I liked it. But anyways, this was the apex for M. Night Shyamalan, and he was just, unfortunately, this was his first film. I say unfortunately, but he was I mean, I don't know how to describe it, but I mean, I don't think nothing he can do can live up to this. There's no way. This was just a perfect movie. The Sixth Sense is a 1999 American supernatural psychological thriller written and directed by, like I said, M. Night Shyamalan. It stars Bruce Willis as a child psychologist whose patient, Haley Joel Osment, can talk to the dead. The film established Shyamalan and introduced the cinema public to his traits, most notably his infatuation with surprise endings. Because M. Night, I just went through a couple of his films, or a few of his films in his filmography. All of them have a twist at the end, and that's his quote unquote signature. He feels he has to do a twist, because after The Sixth Sense and its twist, I guess he feel he has to do that every single movie. You don't have to have a twist in every single movie, and he does. And I kid you not, he does in every movie, and he tries to make every single one of them better than the last. And you can't, man. You cannot live up to The Sixth Sense. I'm sorry, M. I'm sorry, bro. It's just not. It's not happening. It's not happening. Well, at the time, critics praised the performances of Bruce Willis, Haley Joel Osment, and Toni Collette. The atmosphere, as well as the plot twists, of course. It was nominated for 6 Academy Awards. 6! Including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, Best Supporting Actor for Haley Joel Osment, and Best Supporting Actress for Toni Collette. They won none. It was shut out, and it should have been nominated for 7 Academy Awards, because Bruce Willis gave one of the best performances of his career. It was so subtle and quiet and good. It was. It's really a crime. It's 2 performances. I don't know why the Academy didn't like him, but it's 2 performances that he should have been nominated for. I mentioned one before, 12 Monkeys and The Sixth Sense. He was so good in this movie just by being, because he had to pull it off. He had to pull off the biggest swerve in history. Otherwise, if his performance don't land, you get it. You figure out the twist early on. But his subtlety and his performance, you didn't, when he realized he was dead, it was the same time you was realizing it. It was like, we learned this at the same time. You know what I'm saying? It had to come down to his performance, and it was perfect. And when he was revealed to be dead at the end, and his reaction, his coming to grips with it, was so gut-wrenching. I'm like, man, this is, Bruce Willis is on a whole nother level, man. He is on a whole nother level right now. Oh man, they robbed him once again. He was robbed. It was The Sixth Sense was the second highest grossing movie in 1999, taking in $293 million in the U.S. alone and $379 million around the world. bringing his total to $672.8 million worldwide on a $40 million budget. Like I said, aside from Bruce Willis, yes, Haley Joel Osment, he deserved his nomination. Of course, Toni Collette, she does no wrong. She is acting juggernaut in my eyes, and everybody was on their A game here, and I am truly impressed by how this film came around to be. You know what I'm saying? And I guess that's why everybody is so mad and upset with M. Night Shyamalan and his directing efforts after this. Because, look, nobody expects you to be this good going forward, but at least be in the ballpark. He doesn't even, I mean, look, Unbreakable was in the ballpark. Signs was in the ballpark. The Visit, ballpark. Split was in the ballpark. Everything else, you weren't even in the same city. You weren't even on the same. You weren't even in the same state. Those movies were so lackluster. I'm not gonna say bad. They were just lackluster. They did nothing for me. Nothing, and apparently nothing for anybody else as well. But I digress. The Sixth Sense, in the sense, no pun intended, in the sense of cinema greatness, it is an A+. This is one of the rare A+ films here on the KB Radio Network, here on Movie Goodness. This is just a perfect movie. If you could point out a flaw in this movie, I'll give you a cookie, because I cannot. There is no flaw in this movie. It is supremely written, supremely directed, supremely acted. Even the supporting characters, everything around it, the twist. I mean, the payoff at the end. This movie requires you to have patience, because you have to sit there and go through this story, go on this journey with Bruce Willis, thinking he's alive, because he's interacting with Haley Joel Osment's character as if everything's hunky and dory. He's sitting down. You're wondering why the relationship between him and his wife they're separate. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're not connecting, and he's late for dinner, and she seems to be upset, and anniversary and stuff like that, and you're feeling bad for him, because he's trying to do his job and all this here, and you're like, oh man, this poor fella, and then to come to find out, he's dead. And that's why it was, man, that movie is so good. Oh my God, A+. The Sixth Sense is an A+. But yeah, Bruce Willis, man. I'm honestly, people, the dude, and I know the latter half of his career, he's had some stinkers. He's had some horrible movies that, you know, really makes you scratch your head and wonder what is he thinking, man? I mean, why is he making all these movies? But when I sit back and think about it now, I'm being purely speculative now. I don't know if this is the reason why or nothing like that. But my theory is he knew something was wrong. You know what I'm saying? He knew something wasn't quite right, and he was trying to make sure his family was taken care of. So when he made all these direct-to-video movies, I mean, Bruce Willis put out about, I'm going to say, 8 movies a year. And you sit there and wonder why he was putting I'm talking since, 2000 maybe? Yeah, around. I mean, not 2000. Gee, in 2020. That's when it really started. It was just nothing but direct-to-video movies, and it just dumb movies. You know, something they could have put any actor in. You know, any unknown actor to do, and he took these roles, and you're like, wow, why you taking a step down? I mean, you're Bruce Willis, man. Make another Die Hard. I mean, try to fix that franchise that you ruined with A Good Day to Die Hard. I mean, these was just some horrible movies, but it was reported that he was charging like $1 million a movie or something to that effect. I forgot what it was. It's some ridiculous number. $1 million seems small, but it was like $1 million a day or something like that. And he'll shoot for like a week. He'll just do all his scenes in 1 week or in a couple of days or something like that, and get a big payday and go home. Go home, rest, wake up the next morning, find another stupid script. They're going to play that for about 2 or 3 days, get his money, go home. He was just getting his money. I respect the hustle, you know, but when you think back, maybe he knew something was up, and maybe he just wanted to, you know, have a nice nest egg for his family. And if that's the case, I get it. I get it, because it's no other reason to do these movies. I mean, these are literally direct to video movie, and in every sense of the word. There is nothing about these movies that were good. And I know a lot of people were critical of them. The Razzie Awards had a special category this year. The worst Bruce Willis performance. That was the category, and he was nominated, and of course, in every single slot there. You know, he had about 4 or 5 bad performances, but I don't think he cared. You know, he was just getting a check. But I'm so sad to hear that he's going through this, or anybody else who's going through this. Like I said, this is the first time I heard of this particular disease. Man, this stinks. This stinks. But anybody who's going through that dementia or Parkinson's, or you know somebody that's going through it, man, I'm praying for you. You know, I know it's got to be tough. You know, you hear those stories of your older parents or your grandparents or whoever it may be, waking up every morning and don't know who you are, or asking for somebody who's already passed away, and you got to break that news to them every day. You know, and that's soul crushing, man. I hate to have to. Oh man, I don't envy nobody that has to go through that. So Bruce Willis, man, thank you for this. Thank you for awesome ride, man. Like I said, it's so many other movies I wanted to get to. But it's so many, you know. Sin City, 13 Blocks was another movie that I considered reviewing today. You know, oh man. Anyway, let me shut up because it's too many. Hostage, you know, all that. You know, yeah. But anyways, everybody keep Bruce Willis and his family in your thoughts and prayers. The dude was an awesome actor. I hope that he's still able to, you know, function. You know what I'm saying? That he can still be around. You know, y'all get what I'm trying to say. You know, I hope he doesn't just be bedridden. He can't go nowhere or nothing like that. I don't know, man. It's just sad to me. Anyway, everybody, look. What's your favorite Bruce Willis film? I'd like to know. If I know the majority of people gonna say Die Hard, and I know because it's mine. But I didn't want to do the most obvious thing. Yeah, of course, Die Hard is a classic, but The Sixth Sense is amazing. But you have 117 films to choose from. I don't want to hear the same answer. So everybody just let me know what your favorite Bruce Willis film is. You can email the show at kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also look us up on social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. You can let me know there as well. If you are listening to the show, everybody, on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, don't forget to leave those 5-star ratings. Don't forget to leave the reviews. If you're listening on Spotify, don't forget to follow the show, as well as other listening platforms. You can follow the show as well, because the KB Radio Network is available everywhere, even on YouTube. I keep forgetting to promote that, but yeah, we're on YouTube as well. No video, just audio. Eventually we will work. At least I'm working on getting video episodes up on YouTube, but still working on that. I had a lot going on building this studio here, so just for that purpose, so I can do the videos. So it's all for a reason, people. It's all for a reason. But anyways, everybody, I thank you for joining me for today's show as we look back at the career of Bruce Willis. Everyone, I want you all to know that I love you. Continue to love one another. And until we speak again, you all be blessed.